Ain't that a sight?
Best friends and mountaineering partners, Jim Davidson and Mike Price, are fulfilling a dream. To climb Mount Rainier, one of the highest mountains in the US.
It's gonna be a crazy, mad day. You ready?
Let's do it, Jim.
Let's do it, bro.
The two men have been climbing together for 4 years.
I first met Mike in 1986. We were both going to Colorado State University. We had a like mind and a similar love for the mountains.
As Jim and Mike have scaled mountains all over the US, their friendship has grown deeper.
Mike had a great deal of mountaineering experience. I looked up to him as a better climber than I, more experienced.
But Mount Rainier will put their climbing partnership to the ultimate test. As they plan to scale the fearsome Liberty Ridge.
I think what excited both of us was it was going to be a step up in our friendship and our partnership.
On the third morning of their trek, they're ready for the final leg of their trip, up to the 14,000-foot summit.
Climbing fosters very intense relationships. We experience the difficulties, we experience the rewards, and you're sharing it with one person who you like and whom you trust a great deal.
For Jim, this is his toughest climbing challenge yet. But being attached to his far more experienced friend Mike means he's in safe hands.
You okay, Jim?
Oh, man. This is tough.
Just check your balance a little.
I would look at the climb and go, wow, I don't know if I can do this. It looks a little steep, a little scary.
I can't do it, bro.
Just come over a little.
And Mike would gently push me forward.
You're doing good.
I thought, well, if Mike thinks I can do it, then I probably can.
Mike's expert leadership means that their final push to the summit goes without a hitch.
Woo! Just as I pulled myself onto the ice cap, Mike was sitting down with a big grin on it.
Welcome to Liberty Cap.
Their reward is spectacular views on a perfect day.
It can be a very spiritual experience where you're up there and you actually feel connected to the earth and to something even bigger. And to have those magical moments in the mountain, you have to put forth the work and you have to be willing to accept some risk.
For Jim and Mike, making it to the top is the ultimate high. Having realized their dream, they're now ready to get home to their families. But first, they face a tricky decision.
The most standard descent routes are on the south side at Disappointment Cleaver. That would have worked fine for getting down, but would put us on the opposite side of the mountain from where our car was.
So they decide instead that it will be much quicker to take the shorter northeast route down. It's a straightforward 8-hour trek back to base.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
I don't want you thinking about a nice, cool beer.
Hey, lay off.
But Jim and Mike are also aware that they must stay alert. They know that hidden just under the snow, the landscape is a minefield of cracks and gullies, the worst of which are huge crevasses.
All of the glaciers on Rainier have crevasses, these big cracks in the ice. Sometimes they're open and you can see them, and sometimes they're hidden over with snow.
And as the hours pass, the risk of crevasses increases.
The sun softens the snow, weakens the ice. That can make the route itself more likely to collapse.
But Jim knows that being attached to his friend by a rope means that if he does fall, Mike will dig in and use his body weight to save him.
They're literally holding your life in their hands.
All right. It's a little deeper here, okay?
And that creates a very intense bond and a very intense friendship.
But an hour into their descent, they realize that the route they've chosen catches the full heat of the sun.
As we descended down, we started getting hot very quickly. And we could feel the sun beating down on us.
As the temperature rises, the surface snow is now weakening all around them. Fast.
Okay.
Our boots would sink in deeper and our ice axes would sink in deeper.
Jim and Mike are now only inching forward.
Baby steps, Jim. Will do.
In these conditions, one false step could be deadly.
Just take it easy, Jim.
And all of a sudden, I sensed something. Below me, the ground just dropped off.
We got a big crevasse here, buddy. We're not going this way. Okay, Jim, take it easy. Let's try going left a little, okay?
It's been a close call, and Jim now realizes that real danger is lurking all around them.
I probed the ground in front of me, and it felt solid.
Take it easy now, Jim. Yeah, we're good.
And I stepped forward and sank up to my ankle in the snow.
Whoa!
And I probed a second step. And my ice axe felt solid, so I stepped forward.
No, we're good.
My face smashed up against the snow. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to stop myself. I yelled, "Falling!" I swung my arms and legs around in the darkness. And I realized this is a big crevasse.
If Mike can't get a grip in the slushy snow, then nothing can stop them both plunging to their deaths.
It seemed to progress very slowly. I had time to think about what was happening and what might happen and how we were going to land. It was just absolute sheer terror. I was tied to Mike, so I thought in another second or so the rope will get tight and catch me.
As Jim speeds downwards, he knows Mike only has a few feet left to dig in and break his fall.
I thought 10 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet. Mike should have caught me by now. And I put my hand out, and I could hear how fast I was moving by the high, screaming pitch of the nylon glove dragging on the wall in the darkness. And when I swished around, it felt kind of empty, and I realized that my wrist loop had slipped off my hand. My ice axe gone now. There's no way I can stop myself. Then my brain told me that I'd fallen 50 feet. I thought, no, that can't be right. If I'm in 50 feet, and there's 50 feet of rope between me and Mike, that means he's right at the lip of the crevasse. And I'm going so fast now, he's gonna have a heck of a time catching me. And I thought, come on, Mike, dig in, dig in. Because I knew that he was getting close to the edge. felt the rope jerk once and then go slack. And at first I was confused. I didn't know what that meant. It was a sense of helplessness and sort of a soft sense of sadness, like, well, now there's literally nothing we can do.
The violence of Jim and Mike's 80-foot fall has triggered something every climber dreads. An avalanche. As the walls are now leaning in too far towards him, he knows there's only one option. He must switch to a different climbing technique. Aid climbing.
Aid climbing on ice screws is rarely, if ever, done. And I had never done it. I never met anybody that had done it.
Aid climbing involves hanging loops of rope from a wall screw and using them as footholds. Jim knows the theory of it, but it's a world away from actually doing it.
It's brutally physically demanding.
He's already exhausted and faces scaling 60 feet and an overhang with this untried method. Worse still, he hasn't got the right gear. He must improvise with just a few lengths of nylon and 5 ice screws.
Very awkward, very pathetic substitute, but it's all I had.
If Jim is to make it out alive, he must now use everything that Mike has ever taught him.
I was now climbing like ice steeper than I ever had in my life.
Without Mike to help him, Jim has to constantly climb back down to retrieve his ice screws, costing him precious time and energy. After hours of grueling climbing, Jim is within touching distance of his last great obstacle, the overhang. If he can get past it, he'll have only 20 feet left to climb. But he's beginning to realize that he may be on his last reserves of energy.
I was physically winding down, and I could see myself moving slower and slower. At this point, I think my body was kind of grinding to a halt.
Jim's loneliness, exhaustion, and despair are finally too much for him.
I was starting to feel so beat up physically and psychologically, I wasn't sure that I was going to last long enough. I had absolutely no strength out there.
Jim has lost a mountaineer's most powerful tool, his self-belief.
And I started thinking about Mike. And his parents at home. And how all I could do was get out of here and let them know what happened to him. Even though no one would have known if I just gave in to the cold and sleep, that wouldn't be honoring the people that had helped me and what they had taught me. Mike teaching me to always give your best for the partnership. You don't give up just because it's hard. You stick with it.
Jim knows he must find the strength for one final push to the top.
If I made it out and collapsed there and died there, that would be success, because they'd find me and follow the rope back to Mike. And so we'd both be found, both get off the mountain. And I watched the spit drool down a little bit, and the blood froze in place on the wall. And I realized that was actually kind of a marker, marking how far I'd progressed up the wall. It was a psychological game to prove to myself that even though it was painfully slow and horribly scary, that I was making progress.
After 65 feet and hours of hell, Jim's made it to the overhang. It's the only thing standing between him and the lip of the crevasse.
I knew I was close.
But to get past it and get out alive, he must risk everything.
Now I had a severe problem. I couldn't reach past the lip.
I can't do it, bro.
Just come over a little.
And I thought, I have to do it. I've got no choice.
Jim's only option is to try to haul himself over the edge of the overhang. If he makes one single mistake, he'll fall to his death.
I thought, I've made it. I've secured myself to the upper screw. And I took my ice axe off the lower screw so that I could hang onto it. I realized I had just made a huge error.
Jim has broken a climber's golden rule. He's attached himself to his chest instead of his waist.
The chest harness cinched down around my chest and squeezed the breath out of me. And some voice in my head was just screaming at me, saying, "It's all over. You're gonna die hanging from this ice screw." I was gasping for breaths. I would get one occasionally when I would get one ice tool in the wall. I could get a little weight off and I would get 2 breaths, and then I would slip and slump back onto the sling and it would squeeze me tight again. I had to get off that ice screw.
Unless he can find one last surge of energy, Jim knows he has just seconds left to live.
And when I looked back down at our ledge, some 60 feet below me now, I realized that I was really out there on the extreme edge of what I thought climbing could even be.
Finally, having achieved what seemed impossible just a matter of hours ago, Jim knows he has only 20 feet to the top and escape.
But I was so utterly exhausted from everything I'd done, I questioned if I was going to be able to have the strength to make that final run to the surface.
But the last few minutes of daylight are disappearing fast. With temperatures inside the crevasse now dropping dramatically, Jim is desperate to end his ordeal as quickly as possible.
I thought, wow, if I can free climb, I can free climb 15 or 20 feet in just a minute. I'll be out of here in just 1 minute. And I started to get very energized by it, very attracted to the idea that with just 1 minute of energy, 1 minute of effort, I would be out. I heard Mike's voice just clear as a bell, and he was like, don't. He said, you're not strong enough, you might slip, and if you slip and fall, it'll be all over. You can't take that risk.
He knows that Mike's words could be the difference between life and death. No matter how hard and time-consuming, Jim should carry on aid climbing.
I couldn't hold the ice axe up anymore. That 1 or 2 pound ice axe became too much for me to bear. And I was truly getting down to the end of my energies.
After more than 5 hours and 80 grueling feet, Jim reaches the surface. But unless he can get a firm grip on the treacherously thin snow, he could easily slide back into the crevasse.
I can't believe at the very last second I'm going to fall backwards, all the way back down to where I came from. I can't believe it's going to end like this. And this emotional voice in my mind was like screaming, do something. And this voice was pretty confident, said, just lunge. I looked back where I had last seen Mike just before the fall, and I could see where he was standing, and there was a very sharp groove in the snow that proved to me that Mike had dug in as hard as he could to catch my fall. And then I untied from the rope.
By finally untying the rope that connects him to Mike, Jim knows that he has fulfilled his duty to his best friend. And Mike's family will be able to take his body home.
All that emotion that had been trapped down inside me for over 5 hours just gushed out. And I just said out loud once, I'm alive.
Hello!
Jim's cries for help are finally heard by 2 park rangers and some volunteers.
That's when I knew that I had been seen.
I'm up here!
And that help was on its way.
Mike Price's body was recovered the following day. And, thanks to him, Jim survived with only minor injuries. But before returning home to his wife, he had one last thing he had to do.
The last day when Mike and I were climbing together, we talked about coming off the mountain, maybe having a big steak and buying a couple beers. So I went into the bar. And I ordered 2 beers. One for me, one for Mike.
Thanks.
And I sat there and drank them both.
Since the accident, Jim's never lost his love of the mountains. He now teaches new climbers to respect the power of nature. And each year, on June the 21st, Jim makes a special climb to celebrate the life and times he and his friend spent in the mountains. Charlie Hedge is beginning the challenge of a lifetime. A solo hike in the Sierra Nevada mountains. With his 50th birthday approaching, he's out to prove he's still got what it takes to survive alone in the wilderness.
I love the solitude. I love nature. I love the outdoors. It's something I always wanted to do. Consider myself being somewhat self-sufficient. And so I think I kind of went up there alone in an attempt to prove that to myself, I think.
Charlie has hiked in the mountains many times before, but always with friends. He knows that going alone will be his toughest challenge yet.
I'm not getting any younger, and I'm not as in good a shape as I used to be, and I just wanted to get lost for a week. Walk away my worries.
Charlie's long-term girlfriend of 7 years, Julie, knows what this solo trip means to him.
Charlie has spent a lot of time, I think, on his own and alone. He likes to go and do things by himself. He got this wild hair, this idea that he really wanted to go and do this. And I knew that there was no stopping him.
I remember we hugged and kissed. She wished me luck, told me to be careful, told me she loved me, and I told her the same.
He's a big kid. Charlie's a big kid.
Charlie has planned a challenging route, a 30-mile circuit which he hopes to complete in just 5 days. His first day's climb takes him high into the Sierra Nevada peaks. Here, 20 miles from civilization, he can enjoy the beauty and solitude. It's just him and nature.
The Sierra Nevada mountains, just a gorgeous spot. Being alone in the wilderness appeals to me because of the beauty. I just think Mother Nature has so much to offer. Unspoiled, quiet. As far as me going solo, Julie certainly had her concerns.
I was concerned that maybe he wasn't in shape for this. He hadn't done a hike this length in a very long time.
But Charlie makes good progress up the mountain. And after a grueling hike, he can reap the rewards of being self-sufficient.
Part of the allure of going up there is fishing. You get high enough in the mountains and there's golden trout. Catching some fish and eating them that night. Nothing beats fresh fish. I felt real good that first day.
In September, conditions in the Sierra Nevada mountains can change instantly and dramatically. But in his enthusiasm to get going, Charlie ignored weather warnings. By early evening, a fierce wind blows in and his peace is shattered.
Wednesday night, the wind started picking up. And that's the first time I really felt exposed. You know you're alone, the wind's picking up, you're not sleeping, you're wondering, this isn't any fun, you know? I really became concerned for the first time Thursday when it really started to snow and the wind was just howling.
The wind becomes a vicious snowstorm, and Charlie hunkers down for the night, hoping it will pass.
When I woke up, pretty much snow everywhere. Woo! I got up and literally I was half buried in snow. But the weather was kind of breaking.
Although the skies are clearing, the new snow has transformed the landscape. Navigating the route ahead will be a formidable task.
At that point, there's really no trail. And if there was, it was buried in snow. I've been up there before years ago, and it just did not look familiar.
For Charlie, this trip was to be the test of his ability to survive in the wild. But he now faces a difficult dilemma: to cut his trip short and head back down the mountain, or forge ahead with his original plan.
I made the decision to continue. Get up and over the pass and get down the east side. The weather should be better down there, certainly. So I dug the snow out, packed everything up, headed up to the pass.
Charlie struggles on for 2 hours, but hiking blind across the snowdrifts, he's way out of his depth.
It was just very tough. I realized that I might have made a mistake proceeding. But my rationality tried to overtake me, and I told myself, you'll be okay.
Having committed himself to going forward, Charlie continues on over the hazardous pass. But here, the terrain is perilous, and now the weather takes another dramatic turn for the worse.
It really started to snow, and the wind was just howling. It was just blowing in my face.
Despite the worsening conditions, Charlie is determined to complete his ambitious hike. But as the raging blizzard intensifies, he starts to realize that he's in over his head.
While I was thinking what to do, my face is getting all cold from the wind, and I remember just turning around with the wind at my back. I don't remember tripping. I don't remember flying through the air. I just remember I hit my head. I don't know how far I fell, but it had to be 30, 40 feet at a time. You have no control. You just hope you land and survive.
Charlie helplessly plummets to certain death. But a rock ledge, jutting out of the cliff face, breaks his fall and saves his life.
The ledge that I landed on was no more than maybe 6 feet deep and maybe 10 feet wide. I looked up. I couldn't go up. It was too steep. Looked down. It was steeper than heck. I was trapped on a rock. It's just an awful feeling.
Teetering on the edge of a 500-foot drop, Charlie must literally cling on for his life. But the fall has shattered his right wrist and badly damaged his spine, and the blow to his head has left him with severe concussion. Blasted by the freezing wind, his survival instincts kick in.
Soon after, I was just overcome with the pain of my injuries. My whole right arm was just numb from pain. It immediately swelled up. And the right side of my head hurt like mad. I knew that the only way I had a chance to survive, Charlie, is to get warm. So I wanted to get that tent up and get inside my bag and try and warm myself. I was in such a confined space, there was no room to move. The ground was hard. I couldn't stake it into place and pull it tight like you would normally do. So I finally got in my bag and rubbed myself, tried to get warm and dry off. I distinctly remember, for one split second, realizing how lucky I was to survive. I kind of got warm. I kind of gained my senses a little bit. And I thought, well, I got a cell phone, I could try that.
Okay. Hello.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed. Please call your operator to help you.
And of course, it didn't work. Beep, beep, beep. Because of the lack of the signal.
No! No! No!
I became very despondent because I knew at that point there's no way I'm gonna ever reach anybody from the outside world.
Isolated and trapped on the ledge, Charlie is in urgent need of medical attention. Worse still, he isn't due to finish his hike until Saturday, in a day's time. Until then, no one will even suspect he's in trouble.
All I could do at that point is wait. So I surmised that if anybody's gonna come looking for me, they're gonna wait 2 days. So my job at that point was to try and survive and bide my time until Monday.
But Charlie's food supplies are running dangerously low. He only has a handful of snacks left.
I knew I had to kind of ration what little food I had left, which is mainly trail mix and granola bars. I was hungry all the time.
Once his food supplies run out, Charlie knows he won't be able to last very long without help.
Realizing that, thinking that they quit looking for me, I thought I had to, I can't stay here. I'll dwindle and die.
Charlie faces his 4th night on the mountain. Without food or water, he knows he can't survive another day, and there's little chance of rescue. It's life or death, but can he save himself?
I was certain that they stopped looking for me. And so what am I gonna do now? I thought, I'm gonna have to try and get out by myself.
Pinned to an icy ledge, Charlie Hench realizes that rescuers are looking for him in the wrong place and may never find him. He must take action or surely die. His only choice is to attempt to scale the sheer rock face, despite his injuries.
I went into panic mode, thinking, if I'm gonna survive this, I gotta try and get out. I knew I couldn't go down. It was out of the question. And I kind of surveyed the landscape above me. And I said, I'll try this way, up and to the left, as I face the mountain.
But with a badly damaged spine and broken wrist, every inch Charlie climbs is agony.
My hand is broken, so it's most difficult. You're kind of hugging these rocks one-handed. It was just very tough. I made it under, around, over these humongous boulders. I scrambled over, 3 or 4 rocks. And then just, I couldn't go up anymore. Didn't know what to do, so I just sat on the rock right where I was kind of like trapped. I was trapped on an even smaller rock, and I thought I couldn't go down and couldn't go up. I was literally stuck even in a worse spot. And it was early evening, and so I didn't know what to do. And so I made the decision, well, I'm just gonna stay here. What else can I do?
Charlie's shattered wrist and weakness from dehydration make scaling the near vertical cliff face impossible. Away from the shelter of his tent, he is now totally exposed to the icy wind, and the temperature plummets.
It was just so uncomfortable. Not only could you not sleep, but you're just uncomfortable in the position you were. And I thought it was, I didn't think I was gonna make it. A, I was so uncomfortable. B, they stopped looking for me. So I just laid awake all night, looked at the moon.
That was the darkest time, I'd say. I was very discouraged at that point. I did not sleep well during those nights. I thought something had happened, that I would never see Charlie again.
As the night wears on, exposed to the freezing temperatures, Charlie risks dying of hypothermia.
It was the longest night of my life. I had to stay awake all night. Didn't have to, had no choice. I wrote a few things out, you know, like a lousy attempt at a will, because I thought it was all over, and I just kind of, you know, divvied up the little things I have to people I know and love. It's an awful feeling.
Against the odds, Charlie survives the bitter night. But the ordeal has taken its toll.
I was not going to spend any more time on this rock, and so I chose the lesser evils, which was the ledge. And I'm looking forward to climbing back in my bag, and you know, I was gonna write some last words. So I scrambled my way back down. It took me 20 or 30 minutes with one arm and 2 feet and hoping for the best.
But just as Charlie has all but given up on life, he finds a last possible lifeline.
I'm thinking maybe I could start a fire. It never occurred to me to start a friggin' fire. Maybe I could light a fire, you know, as a signal for another helicopter or other hikers. But I didn't have much. I had some old magazines, and I had some plastic slippers. I figured, well, plastic sandals might smoke. But I had like 3, 4 matches left. My hands were just all torn up. My wrist was broken, so I think I tried to strike him with my left hand. First match, you know, lit and wouldn't light the paper. Second match got wet because my fingers were so wet to begin with. I forget what happened to the third match. And so at that point, that's when I started to say, well, I'm just gonna maybe go to sleep. I was so tired.
Back home, Charlie's friend, Dave Gra, is growing more concerned about the failure to find his body. As a trained pilot, he decides he needs to get involved in the search and try to save his friend.
Tuesday night, I think I woke up several times during the night and couldn't help but think of Charlie and thought that, well, I need to do something.
35 years earlier, Dave's brother got lost in a storm hiking the same trail that Charlie has been following. He has a hunch that the helicopters have been looking in the wrong valley.
I was thinking about my brother's accident. If it's snowing or windy or something like that, it can be downright dangerous. It can be fairly easy to get lost.
So I had to climb very, very hard, and still had to probably circle around a bit to get up over the mountains. Look down and try to scour the rocks for someone that might be stuck there.
But this aerial search also ends in failure.
I couldn't help but be disappointed that he wasn't there. I wasn't going to find him. And that probably was not good, given the weather and the time that had gone by.
After almost 6 days, trapped alone on an icy rock ledge, Charlie has given up all hope of surviving his ordeal. Death itself now seems a welcome escape.
At that point, I'm so depressed and tired and hungry and dehydrated, thinking no one was looking for me anymore. So I was really in despair. I was just totally numb. It was probably my lowest point.
Charlie knows that rescue teams are looking for him in the wrong place, and that no one will find him. It's only a matter of time before he dies.
I was a beaten horse, you know. I had a buck knife, and I thought it'd be easier if I ended. I never would have done that. I got too many friends that love me, and I love life too much. That's no way to go for a man like me.
Just weeks away from his 50th birthday, this trip was supposed to rejuvenate his life. Now, Charlie waits for a slow, agonizing death.
I hear this plane, and he's above me. This guy is, almost at my sight. And so I got my fishing pole with my stuff sack on, and I'm waving it.
I'm here.
And then he goes by, and I wasn't sure he saw me.
Over here.
So then he turns around, he comes like right toward me again. Wave my bag. And he does the wing dip, like you see on Star Wars and that. And I just thought that was the best thing that wrapped it right there.
After nearly a week, trapped alone on a small rock ledge, Charlie Hench is finally found. Following a gut instinct, his friend Dave decided to search the far side of the mountain pass, close to where his brother was lost, one last time.
Well, it was pretty amazing. I mean, I guess Charlie could be described as a needle, and the mountain's a haystack, and I did find that needle in a haystack. I've actually been to the ledge where he was stuck, and I've been there during the summer. And it's a pretty scary place. Charlie could have been killed. My experience in that whole thing is that it turned out good. I mean, Charlie and I have quite a bond that we wouldn't have had before, and that's something pretty special.
When we got the call that they found Charlie, I mean, it was pure just elation. We both just fell apart, and you could just hear it in his voice that it was pretty traumatic. So I was just very thankful. He's a survivor. That's just, you know, he's a tough guy.
Charlie received emergency treatment for his broken wrist, lower spine, and head injuries. And when he returned home, was welcomed like a hero.
I finally got back to town and saw Julie. I was just thrilled. She's a big part of my life. And I was just very happy to see her. It was just the little things that kept me alive, that I wanted to return to, you know, that I love so much.
The north face of Les Droites is a treacherous climb. But it's exactly the kind of challenge Jamie Fisher relishes.
What do you reckon?
Jamie was really a true mountaineer. That was his big calling in life. He often seemed to think about nothing else.
So basically, we'll overnight at Le Grand Montet in order to get an early start in the morning. 3-hour brisk walk, we're at the foot of the face. Okay.
Jamie Fisher is determined not to let this opportunity pass. But first, he has to persuade his best friend.
We got a week of this window. Perfect weather.
A week?
A week. There's no reason why we can't tick this off. You won't even know we're gone. We'll be back before you know it.
It would have been very nice to just spend the whole week on the slopes, skiing, snowboarding, having fun, just being with our friends. But both of us knew that we had something within us deeper that was driving us to do more.
You know, you're really going to get him into trouble one of these days, Jamie.
And? Cheers.
Cheers. Salut.
Le droit.
Le droit.
Once the decision was made, Jamie and I were set. We were going.
The two Jamies take the cable car to the top station, 10,000 feet up the mountain. They'll spend the night there to get a head start in the morning.
I certainly was getting very nervous about it by now. You know, even with all the experience I had under my belt, you know, you always get nervous before a big climb. And I always find I reach this stage in the night where I kind of wish that there's a big storm going to come in and I can call the whole thing off. I remember opening my eyes and seeing Jamie pacing about. He'd obviously not been able to sleep either, and he'd got up and was wandering about.
Come on, Sleeping Beauty. Time to go.
Just give me a minute, okay?
Come on, stop whinging. Get ready.
Okay, I'm up.
The next day, the two Jamies set off to begin their climb of Les Droites.
It was a long, hard trudge up the glacier. Jamie was much more up for it that morning, and I was feeling pretty ropey with the altitude and general nerves. And I could hear him singing to himself as he trudged through the snow.
Anyone ever told you got a really lovely singing voice, Jamie?
Yeah, they told me I got a beautiful voice.
He could sometimes be frustrating, but, you know, he was great company.
When they arrive at the foot of the vast ice face that leads to the summit, they get their first sighting of the awesome challenge ahead.
It is a 1,000-meter unbroken face of rock and ice. So it was pretty scary, but also, you know, really got our adrenaline going, I think.
Got a coin?
Yeah. There you go.
Heads or tails?
Heads.
Tails! I'm on it.
And that moment when you're actually on the climb, it's as if all that nervous energy just disappears. It just dissolves into the sheer joy of the climbing itself.
In midwinter, the weather in the Alps can change in an instant. But today, the two men have ideal conditions for their climb.
How's it looking out there?
Great, mate! The ice is absolutely perfect!
Scaling Lake Droit is a 2-day climb. And as dusk falls on the first afternoon, the two friends find a ledge to rest up for the night.
Well, mate? Yeah.
You don't expect great luxury in these circumstances. You don't expect 3-star hotels, but we were pretty happy with that.
Your room will be ready in a sec, Mr. Andrews.
Oh, thank you very much.
You know, being able to get into our sleeping bags, to get lying down, to get hot drink, that was good enough for us.
Good day, huh?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, we'll crack it for sure tomorrow.
Yeah.
We were both feeling elated. We were bang on target at that stage. We were exactly halfway, which was what we'd hoped.
As dawn breaks, the two men set off on the final ascent to the summit. A sheer vertical ice face, one of the toughest climbs in the Alps.
There's no ledges on the face where you can take a break. And so it is very tiring on your calves, your calf muscles. Essentially, you're standing on your tippy toes all day. By about lunchtime on that second day, we were feeling pretty confident at that stage. We were feeling that, you know, we were going to reach the top within a few hours.
They make great progress. But 800 feet from the summit, conditions suddenly change.
I don't like the look of those clouds, mate!
We'd been perfectly clear the 1 minute. The next minute we looked up and there were these clouds rolling over the summit ridge of the mountain. We realized that this was a pretty serious storm that was coming in. It wasn't long before the snow started falling. It just became phenomenal. It very quickly became very, very heavy indeed.
In just a matter of minutes, the two climbers have been slammed by a vicious alpine blizzard.
But we weren't too worried at this stage. You don't expect to be able to climb a mountain face like that without encountering some bad weather.
But far from blowing over, the storm rapidly intensifies.
I've never experienced anything like it. It was just piling down onto our backs and rucksacks. You know, literally faster than we could shake it off. It was just incredible.
Then suddenly, the fresh snow triggers the thing climbers fear most. Mountain avalanches.
You just have to hold on to your ice axes as tightly as possible. Just close your eyes and hope for this avalanche to pass. It was horrendous climbing in those conditions. It was just really, really, really hard.
The two friends are now clinging to the side of the mountain, knowing every step could be their last.
It became a job of survival. There were great periods of time when we couldn't see each other. It was just impossible climbing in such horrendous conditions. So it was It was pretty tough.
They now face a life or death decision.
Jamie! Woo! This is something, huh?
Yeah, but what do we do?
Abandoning their climb would mean descending the 3,000 feet of treacherous ice below them.
To attempt to descend the very difficult and dangerous climbing that we'd done already in those conditions had been, almost suicidal.
Not going down in this, mate! Head for the closest pass, near the summit!
Their only option is to keep on climbing through the blizzard.
If we could reach the summit ridge, we would be safe from the avalanches. We could dig ourselves in and then just wait for the storm to pass.
The two friends battle on, but it's desperately slow progress.
By the time it was starting to get dark, suddenly one of the bolts on my right ice axe started to work loose.
Jamie needs both of his axes. They're his only way of scaling the ice face. He has to carry on and pray the axe head won't come off.
We were really reduced to a snail's pace now. The climbing was so much more arduous and fatiguing and, of course, frightening.
In the raging blizzard, and with a broken ice axe, the two Jamies know that what began as an exciting adventure has turned into a potentially deadly climb.
I was beginning to think that we would never reach the top. It just seemed to be going on and on forever. But it was Jamie who suddenly let out this yell.
I found somewhere!
And I knew from his tone that this was it. He'd made it. He was at the top. Suddenly, both there we were on the top, on the summit ridge. And that was great. That was fantastic.
At the summit, the two Jamies can finally rest and wait for the storm to subside. But the ridge is just a sliver of ice, 3 feet wide by 5 feet long, with sheer drops of over 1,000 feet on either side.
The place where we arrived was really a knife edge of snow and ice.
Jesus Christ, Jamie, we can't stay here! It'll be fine! It's only for the night! The storm can't keep up!
We were completely exposed to the elements. There was no protection whatsoever from the snow and from the wind and from these massive drops to either side of us. So it was a pretty hair-raising place to have to spend the night.
They get into their bivvies, water and windproof bags used for emergency shelter. It's their only protection from the storm.
We'd eaten most of the food that we'd brought with us. We still had a couple of packets of biscuits and some chocolate bars. That's basically what we had left. Our more immediate concern was water. It was too precarious to light the stove, to melt snow for water.
They'll only survive a short time without water. Their hope is that the storm will pass.
Jamie and I had been on many mountaineering adventures together, but this was looking like being the most frightening to date.
All the two men can do is hunker down, knowing that one careless move will send them 1,000 feet to their deaths.
Now it was just a case of surviving the night and waiting for the storm to pass.
But as the night wears on, far from abating, the mountain blizzard intensifies.
It did start into our heads that we couldn't survive this indefinitely. And we started to think that maybe this storm's never going to pass.
By morning, there's still no let-up in the weather.
The storm, if anything, it only got worse. It was Jamie who suggested it. I thought he was crazy trying to actually get the stove burning on this ledge between us. And that was just unbelievable. Just the first time in 3 days that would have been that any liquid had passed our lips. To have some hot, sweet tea was just incredible. And that probably saved our lives that night.
But the pleasure is short-lived. The end of the gas means no more water, and they are still severely dehydrated.
It was incredible that we'd survived so far, but we did begin to lose that battle for survival.
It's the worst storm in a century, and there is nowhere to escape the bitter 80-mile-an-hour winds.
But this new weather was way more severe, really. Very, very cold. That kind of wind chill, the human body just can't survive for very long at all.
As the night wears on, the temperature plummets to well below freezing.
The sleeping bags had become useless to us. The snow had got into them, made them damp, and then that damp freezes. So effectively, the sleeping bags had frozen. With every hour that passed, our optimism faded. During that night, we did begin to lose that battle for survival.
What hell are we on? What? Where are we?
Jamie was becoming more and more confused. He didn't seem to know where we were anymore.
Jamie Fisher is becoming delirious. Gripped by hypothermia, his organs are starting to shut down, and not enough blood is reaching his brain.
Come on, Jamie. You know where we are, Jamie. Tell me where we are.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Come on, Jamie. Come on, Jamie. Tell me where we are. Come on.
My only real memories of that day are just of desperation.
During the night, Jamie Fisher's sleeping bag has come loose. Knowing his friend needs every ounce of warmth, Jamie Andrew tries to zip it back up.
I just pulled it in, and then I realized suddenly that I couldn't move my fingers. In an instant, both hands had just frozen, solid.
His hands are frostbitten. His blood and tissue have turned to ice and are irreparably damaged.
And I remember just, in a futile kind of way, just knocking my two hands together and listening to them as they just went thunk, thunk, thunk. My hands were like pieces of frozen meat. As a mountaineer, one of your biggest fears is always going to be frostbite, because if your fingers freeze, you can't do anything for yourself. You're stuffed.
Jamie is completely paralyzed. He watches helplessly as his best friend, in the final stages of hypothermia, begins to lose his mind.
We gotta go. I gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go.
What are you doing?
We gotta go.
Jamie!
And Jamie really became quite delirious and was just sort of thrashing about all over the place.
Jamie, what are you doing? We gotta go! Jamie! Jamie, stay here!
If it wasn't for the fact that he was tied to the mountain, he probably would have fallen off.
Jesus Christ, you're gonna push us off the edge! Jamie, you're gonna push us off the edge!
I desperately tried to bring him back, to remind him, you know, what mountain we were on, what we were doing there. I soon realized that this, you know, this hypothermia was taking him. And there was nothing I could do to stop it.
After 5 days, battling to stay alive on the mountain, the two climbers are now just hours from death.
There was now no way either of us was getting off this mountain alive.
His hands and feet now solid blocks of ice. Jamie Andrew is helpless to do anything to save his best friend.
Once Jamie's core temperature had dropped, his brain was no longer getting the oxygen it needed. Eventually, that deliriousness gave way to unconsciousness, and ultimately he just stopped moving altogether. And when I saw that taking hold of him, I knew that this really, really was the end. That there was no hope now. And of course, having frozen hands myself, there was nothing I could do. In the end, it was Jamie who went first, and I had to witness that. But mercifully, it didn't take long. He obviously wasn't really aware of what was happening. He wasn't suffering. And I remember sitting there realizing that this was the end. That it was the end for Jamie. It was the end for me too, that there was now no way either of us was getting off this mountain alive. Sometime later, and I have no idea how much later, I opened my eyes again. And the first thing that I saw was rays of sunshine as they lit up all the mountain peaks all around me. Moments later, I heard that helicopter approach. this time I knew that somehow they were going to rescue me. Somehow they were going to get me out of there. I was spinning 1,000 meters above the glacier in space in what was literally one of the most spectacular and daring rescues in the history of the Alps. I knew that I'd made it. I'd been rescued and I was going to live.
But the rescue had come too late for Jamie Fisher. His body was taken down from the mountain shortly afterwards. Jamie Andrew underwent surgery to save his life. Surgeons amputated his dead, frostbitten limbs, which were poisoning his blood.
They were very dark days indeed, those first few days after the accident. But on the other hand, I knew that this was to be the low point in my life, and now I could get on with the job of putting my life back together again.
For Jamie Andrew, years of reconstructive surgery and rehabilitation followed. But the memories of those 5 days on the ridge are never far away.
I had survived. I was a lucky one. And so I started to make up my mind that I was going to take on this challenge that had been thrown in front of me, and I was just going to treat it like the next big mountain that I had to climb. And so that's really what I've done, just taking it one step at a time. I have rebuilt my life.